in the chat. I'll try my best to actually address any of the questions that come across. So let's go ahead. So my name is Tam. I am an impact career coach and also facilitate system thinking at And Purposed. So basically, it's a tool for integrating social innovation and social impact and solving social problems. It could be through tech, it could be through any kind of innovative solutions. So a pleasure to be here to talk specifically about how to use technology and how to actually develop your career in tech that contribute to the social impact and more sustainability for the society. So when it comes to career, there are two main pieces that you usually will need to look at. First of all is about yourself. What is your career profile? How are you going to make a decision in terms of career? How are you develop action plan for that? And the second one is really about looking into the market and being aware of what is going on there, what kind of the future of the sector. I'm saying like, okay, if I want to develop a career in technology and it's changing very rapidly, then what kind of trends, what kind of the future that I need to look at in order to identify my opportunity. So the agenda for today also being separated into those two parts. I will walk you through tools and techniques to fully understand your career aspiration. And at the same time, look into the job market and see where you can fit into that. Again, any questions, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll make sure that I address them. When it comes to labor market, in tech sector, of course, there are demand side and supply side. The demand side, you are already familiar, including any kind of employers. And we as workers are on the supply side, right? But one thing that we would have to be aware of in terms of the tech labor market is really the complexity of that. It is being influenced by a lot of different players and factors in the society as well as in the economy. So you can see the role of the government, for example, playing in the labor market, the economy, for example, stock market, influence how tech firms can grow and fund their business models. You see a lot of like layoffs going on recently in the tech, but at the same time, the task being shifted from repetitive one into a more complex one, for example. So all of that is being considered the driver for the change in the labor market. Business model, for example, you can start seeing organizations shift from in-person to hybrid and to eventually virtual workplace, or from hiring full-time employees to look into the gig economy, gig workers, or from IT being a separate department now to merge with others, etc. And the technological advancement definitely play a very important role in terms of identifying where the labor market is going to go, right? We'll talk later in terms of what kind of trends in automation, in certain tasks being discontinued, how you will play a role on that, and how does that influence your career. AI definitely a big shift right now in terms of skill development. How are you going to make yourself irreplaceable and upskill yourself in order to have a very impactful and sustainable career path in technology. And globalization introduced social disparity, definitely inequality in wealth distribution, gender, racial disparity, all of that create different opportunity for a different set of population and different area in the world. So it is very important for you to, when develop a career in technology, make sure that you are also observing those kind of trends and signals going on in the labor market. We actually have a term for that. is called VUCA, labor market. So it basically means the market is very volatile. It keeps changing, very uncertain. It's hard for you to predict what is going on in the future. Today, tech might hire a lot more people, and tomorrow they might lay off people, etc. Very complex. You can see there are many factors going on in the labor market and influence the mindset of the employers, influenced the skills requirement, etc. And ambiguity. So it's hard for us to identify what's the cause and the effect in the labor market. Hence, us as employees, sometimes it's really hard to actually plan career forward. But we also have antidote. So in order to deal with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in the labor market, especially in tech sector, it's important for you to also develop vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. So I'm gonna walk you through step by step to actually prepare for those and what kind of techniques or tool that you can use to get yourself prepared for the future. So in terms of the vision, meaning, do you know what is your purpose, your aspiration, your strength, your skills, right? If you can crystallize all of that into your vision of the career and what kind of impact you want to make through your career, then you are one step forward in terms of preparing for the labor market, especially in the tech. The second one is understanding. So based on how much you understand about yourself, how much you understand about the market, you can identify opportunities and you can actually develop a personal brand that bring you competitive advantages. The next step would be clarity, meaning you find the coherence between what you want to do and what the world is willing to pay for you and what the world is willing to offer you, basically. And the last one will be about agility. So because the sector has changed so fast, it's impossible for you to just stay in present or today, but you have to adapt accordingly. And one of the two that I will introduce to you will be future thinking, trend spotting, and how you can use that to develop your resilience. Any questions so far? If you have questions, just feel free to put it in the chat. Okay, so that is the overview of the labor market. But when it comes to career development, career planning, we have several models that you can follow. I love using this one as a metaphor of a sailboat. And you can see like each and every element of the boat represent each and every element of your career. The first circle, half circle, represent who you are. So it goes from your desire for impact, your strengths, skills, weaknesses, your goals, personal goals, and your action plan. And half of other circle represent the environment that you are part of, which is your sector, technology. So it could be like, okay, what kind of the labor market technology related that I'm part of? Who are there for me in terms of peers, mentors, advisor, and what kind of uncontrollable change going on in the sector that I don't have insight, etc. So by being aware of those two halves of the circle and combine them together, it is your way of planning for the future and planning for your career. So we'll go into each and every element one by one. First of all, because it's about impactful career path, I would really love to circle back to our definition for the tech for good, right? Because out there are many kind of terminology about technology and impact of technology and technology for the good of society. So you might bump into like impact tech, clean tech, green tech, carbon tech, etc. But those terms are defined and used so loosely, I would like to take this concept from Good Tech Lab, just to simplify it for a moment before we move on to planning for career, impactful career. So basically, we can look into tech sector for two main kind of concept. The first one is responsible tech, meaning using technology, using science in a way that minimize harm to the people and the planet. So try as much as possible to avoid harms, avoid unintended consequences is my cause, right? But the dark side for that can be greenwashing, can be impact washing, can be performative corporate social responsibility, CSR. And the other piece of technology that you might encounter in your job search or when you look into like many tech companies out there is impact tech, where not only that they avoid harms and unintended consequences, but they intend to create positive benefits or values to the people and planet. The downside of that one, a lot of tech firms out there, they are not familiar with impact measurement or impact management, and how they can create more positive impact to society. So the downside can be like some misunderstanding signals where to focus in terms of the business, whether it is financial returns or the social impact. So when you look into the list of like tech firms, tech jobs out there, basically you can ask a question to identify whether tech belong to responsible tech or impact tech. Because if you want to create an impactful career, then it's important to also be aware of what your employers are doing, what organizations out there are doing in terms of supporting the society. So a very good framework for you to look at in terms of impact, it could be the Sustainable Development Goals developed by United Nations. So when you look into that, you will be able to draft what kind of impact you would like to create through your career, through being part of the tech sector. A question here you can actually use is, what do I see are global or local problems that need our attention? And how am I going to use science and technology for that? I'll give you an example here. Let's pick the first one, no poverty, right? So it is the first sustainable development goal. And you can see fintech play a very important role here, a big player in no poverty, because fintech help address financial inclusion, wealth distribution, universal basic income, insurance, saving, etc. Or if you look into like the second one, zero hunger, then you might encounter agri-tech using like agricultural innovation to look into food distribution, soil management, or crop management, for example. Or health and well-being, third one, we have health tech, nanotech, biotech. All of those are offering like different options for e-mental health, for virtual care, wearable technology, etc. So if you can find any kind of other example for technology but supporting the sustainable development goals here, just feel free to put it in the chat and share with people in the room. I'll give one more example. Let's say climate action. So SDG goal number 13 is about a lot of the tech firm right now are contributing to carbon calculation or renewable energy or green transportation, etc. So when it comes to like creating impactful career and career goal, it's important for us actually to start with this question. What kind of impact or problem that you would like to solve using science and technology? And once you are clear about this question, you can go out there and find organizations that are contributing toward that kind of mission or vision. And it would be much easier for you to actually develop a personal brand with that kind of impact, and then align your values with the organization value first, or basically your employer's value. So that is the first piece on that sales boat. The second one is, once you are aware of what kind of impact you want to create, it's important for you to actually take the inventory about your strengths and your skills, because you have to sell yourself to the employers, right? So what kind of strength that I would like to articulate through my CV, through my LinkedIn profile, what kind of skills that I should highlight when I get into the interview. So I love using this kind of framework where we'll look into like two dimensions of the skills. One is proficiency, and the second one is enthusiasm, which basically just mean that, first of all, am I good at using that skills? And second, do I love using it? Because if you are good at using it, competent, and you love using it, it is your motivated skills. It is something that you should develop through your CV, through your personal brand, through your LinkedIn profile. And you should actually have a lot of example and story to tell when it comes to that motivated skills in your interview. But if somehow that there is a skill that you love using, but you don't have yet the level of proficiency that you feel confident about, then it's flagged as developmental skills. So it is something that you can go and continue to take more courses. So let's say someone love programming, but they don't feel like they are good at it yet. Then yeah, take more courses. How are you gonna upskill or reskill it? So another one that's very important here is called burned out skill. It is something that usually you are very good at it, but you don't like using it. Let's say I've encountered some programmers or coders saying that, like, I'm pretty good at that one, but imagine myself sitting in front of the computer like 6, 7, 8 hours per day doing that. It just makes me so exhausted. Then it basically means that they don't like using it 100% of the time, right? So then the mistake that people usually do is that they look at the skill that they are good at and they try to advertise it. So they put those kind of skill on their CV. They talk a lot about it. So it gives people impression that, oh, okay, I want to like assign more tasks to this person because it seems like he likes that skill. But when you have more and more tasks related to that skill, you burn out basically because you don't like using it. So be aware of this burnout skills. And if it's not something that you feel comfortable using 100% of your time through your work, then don't pay too much emphasis on that one. And you have to have the balance between that burnout skill, developmental skill, and motivated skill. Ideally, the motivated skill is your personal brand, and burnout skill is just something to support you to be better. So once you have the impact, you have the strength and skills, it's also important for you to actually look at your weaknesses. And weaknesses can come from different things. It could be like a lack of skills. Then yeah, go and try to upskill, try to learn more, try to throw yourself in unfamiliar environment to actually practice those skills. But other things that might be a little bit harder for you to address is fear and limiting belief. And a lot of us actually have that in terms of like, am I good enough or especially, for example, women, usually they wait until they have like 110 or 120% of the qualification in order to apply for a job, right? So those are the things that you need to be aware of, because those will be the blockage of your career at one point. So it's important for you to actually sometimes just stop, take a little bit of the time and see like, okay, am I where I want to be? If not, what is stopping me from moving forward in my career? Is it my skills, like some very tangible skill that I can develop? Or is it just like my self-doubt, self-criticism, perfectionism, and things like that? Or sometimes it's really the barriers that being created by the society for vulnerable communities, so for people of colors, for women, etc. So that is some weaknesses, and it's important for you to also have integrate that into your action plan. The next one is really about your goals, and each and every of us has personalized definition of success and happiness. And when we set the goals, it's important to look at different aspects of life and career and see, okay, how am I going to balance out between the two? Or in this state of life, am I going to focus more on career rather than time with family or friends? Or is stability in terms of finance is something that I'm striving forward, etc., right? And then you can actually create your own goal. Someone might be interested in working like 9 to 5 and have the financial stability, but someone might be interested in being freelancer. They might not gain a lot of finance, but they might have a lot of flexibility and time for the family and friends, and etc. It's really up to you to define your own career and life goals. And once you have that career and life goals, then it's easier, much easier for you to see, okay, what's the next step that I need to do? So we have gone through the first half of the circle, where we go from the desire for impact, strength and skills, weaknesses, goal. So the action plan here tie back to career decision making. How congruent are your career elements with the career option you are considering? Let's say you have 3 options of working with 3 different tech firms, for example, or you have another option of like create my own business, for example. Then what you can do is actually look at all those 4 elements, desire for impact, skills, weaknesses, and goals, and see which one give you the highest score of coherence, which one make you feel like, okay, that is me and that is the life and career that I want. And then you can actually make the decision based on which one is more coherent with you. Any questions so far before we move on to another half circle of the career planning? Three, two, one. No question? Okay, sounds good. Feel free to put it in the chat if you ever have any question. So next, I would guide you through another half of the circle. When you are able to understand what you want, your career aspiration, the next step is really about the environment, the labor market, right? So you can see here, like any kind of change going on, what kind of opportunity for me in the environment, basically like what the world needs and what the world is willing to pay for you. So here I would love to introduce you to the concept of trend spotting and the future thinking. today we are stuck a lot of the time. We're stuck in the today thinking, or basically the concept borrow from design thinking, in a way that like we look at today's world, we observe to see what is going on. That's what we usually do every day. We observe and see what is going on, what kind of insight that I can take, what's the need. So I see an organization post a job today. So I think, oh, they need that kind of skill and they need that kind of qualification. So I'm going to prepare for it, right? So I'm going to test it out. I'm going to develop my own skills and etc. That is the today thinking. However, the future thinking is something important for the tech sector because it's changed so rapidly. It's hard for you to like plan for today because tomorrow is already different. So the future thinkings look in a way that you pay more attention to the trends or any signals for change. And what the signal is really like those tiny waves of new concept and new things going on in a sector. And until one day when it grows bigger, it turned into a trend. It turned into a drivers for change for the sector. Let's say AI, right? 3 years ago, AI wasn't a big part of the labor market and tech sector because it was still a signal. People are aware of it and people see it, but they don't see it as a trend yet. They don't see it as a driver for change. But then when it's being launched by the OpenAI, then it become a trend. It become a driver change for the labor market and for the sector moving forward. So if you develop a future thinking, you might be able to picture that and capture those kind of trends and signal at least 5 years before it becomes a trend. So you prepare yourself for that kind of labor market. Maybe you already like take some certification courses to understand more about machine learning, about AI, maybe 5 years ago already, right? So we want to move forward with that in terms of like, okay, if I look at all the news of like conversation going on in the tech sector today at the moment, what kind of the thing that I will predict to become a future trend, and how am I going to prepare myself for that? And usually those information will come from labor market information. You can look into the local news. There is another great site that you can also look at is called World Economic Forum Strategic Intelligence. They usually flag any kind of new trends, new innovation, innovative ideas that's going on in the world globally. And the last one is hidden market. And hidden market here, I mean conversation with the people actually work in the sector for a long, long time. Like if they have 10 years, 20 years of experience, they very likely they already look into those kind of future trends and they can tell you where this is heading. So networking is important. But since there are so many people already talk about the importance of networking and how to do that, I won't mention it today. I'll just offer you other different tools for you to be more aware of the sector and prepare yourself. So I put here a couple major trends that we see in the sector and from the lens of labor market for the technology as well. So you can see here that it will influence you individually and also organizationally. So the first one, you already see it, the human-machine collaboration, right? The business right now really focusing on customer outcomes and how they can create an environment where human and machine can work together and deliver that kind of outcome. How does that going to affect you in the labor market? It means that you might have more time to actually do meaningful work because machine already take care of repetitive tasks, right? So you might be involved into like more project oriented to like serving customer, oriented to like innovative, creative ideas, because those are the things that machine has not been able to catch up yet. So there are a lot of like meaningful tasks in your job, basically. However, it's going to require a much higher level of reskilling and upskilling. If we are in doing repetitive tasks, then it's just time for us to actually upskilling and see like what kind of skill that I need to learn more in order for me to not be replaceable by the machine. So that is something to pay attention to. Second one is automation adoption. So basically meaning that there are more room for generalists rather than specialists in the technology and IT. So here you can see that like it's important to actually in skill development, you also augment the breadth of the skill instead of the depth, or you have to actually balance both of them. In a way, for example, now I have the tech skill already, then what other skill that I have to develop is really business skill, communication skills, of these soft skills that before IT people might not need it, but now the organization more and more they require that, right? And the second one is the shift in terms of skill development and degree requirement, skill requirement and degree requirement. So you can start seeing like more and more tech company, they no longer pay attention to degrees, more on the micro credential, so certificate, small courses that help you develop your skill and help you to practice those skills right away. Because the degree and education in a formal educational environment, for example, school and university and etc., after 4 years, your skill are already discontinued because the tech already move on to the next stage, right? So also pay attention to that trend as well. Third one is soft skill. So I won't repeat that, but basically it's more or less the same with the previous two, in a way that like more and more human skill will be valued because it cannot be replicated by the machine. So creativity, cognitive flexibility, emotional intelligence, etc., are important to business communication. And last one is job displacement and creation. Yes, AI is taking some kind of jobs out of the market, but at the same time, it's also creates some new one. So pay attention to that. And also the gig economy is also on the rise, meaning there are more and more gig workers. They require more flexibility in terms of time. Usually there are independent contractors rather than full-time employees, right? So what it means for you, you can actually enjoy that as a side hustle, as a freelancer, and etc. And at the same time, if you are aiming for just a full-time job, so you might need to be aware that it might not be as stable as before when employers are moving toward hiring more contractors rather than full-time employees. A couple of resources that I put here for you in terms of labor market information and some site that you can actually look into and read more. So I'm from Canada, so I put like the first 3 links actually about labor market in Canada. And the last one is in Europe. But you can actually search in your area with the word labor market information. Then it will show up a lot of very credible tools and resources for you to look into. So it usually will present some sort of like the trends going on in the sector, what kind of salary level, what kind of jobs description or job post going on for the last 5 years, for the last 3 years, in which regions, in which areas of the city or of the country. So usually those information will be there, and it's good to actually look at it. So the news, you can actually just look at those kind of link, and you can see like they usually offer you already some signals for change in the future of work, and especially in the technology. So you can read it from McKinsey, Deloitte, We Forums, or OECD. Those are very credible resources for you to look into. And the World Economic Forum Strategic Intelligence, I put it in the link at the last one. So we have gone through like full circle here for you to actually understand about who you are, what your career aspiration is, and what is out there in the environment, in the labor market. How to make the career decision now. The first question is really compare the career elements with your career options. And second is really compare the future prospect of the tech workforce with your career options and see which one resonate the most with you and which one can help you achieve your goals, basically, in life and in career. Career decision is always not easy because our goals keep changing. First of all, our world is changing, and there is no linear path toward career success. It's always non-linear. Today you have one option, and tomorrow it's already gone, thing like that. So it's important to not also be too attached to the decision making that you make today and regret it or something like that, because it will just keep changing. Don't get stuck into on one point and try to find the best. Just focus on the better, I would say. So the last tool that I would love to introduce to you is called opportunity identification. So a lot of you in the business, you are already familiar with the SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. But we can actually use that for career planning as well, seeing them based on two dimensions. One is what the environment offers and what is my own specific factors. And then you can develop strategy for each and every of them. Let's say the tech sector offer me these kind of opportunity in the future, and I have some of my own strength. So when I combine the two together, what kind of strategies that I can use to make use of opportunity through my strengths? Or for example, there are some threats going on in the tech sector because it's changing so fast, because AI is being introduced, but I have strength too. So how can I prevent the threat using my strength, right? Such and such. When the thing that seemingly that block people a lot is in terms of when the threats meet the weaknesses. So I'm not good at this one. At the same time, the environment add more and more layers of barriers toward my opportunity. So what am I going to do to actually mitigate the threat, minimize the dangers for that? So there are some strategy that people usually use, and it depends on how you're going to utilize your resources. Sometimes it's based on your personal connection in the sector. Sometimes it's on articulate more clarity over your personal brand. Sometimes it's really upskill, etc. But also be creative about your strategy as well, especially for when weaknesses meet threat. But that is basically it for the journey and for the strategy that you can develop to craft an impactful career path in the tech sector. Now I'll just give a little bit more time to actually discuss with you all. If you want to share your vision or strategy or action plan for your career, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. I will be more than happy to support. And if any questions, just feel free to let me know. And I'll put my email here in case you want to send some of the questions later on.
First of all, thank you very much, Tam. I've got just one question. And this is basically me trying to understand, because of course we do similar things, like we help people to break into tech. So my
Mm.
question has to do with, aside from AI, what other challenges do you see that tech professionals could potentially face over the next few years? You know, we've talked about AI coming in and then taking some people's jobs, or also other people using AI to enhance their jobs as well. But apart from the AI, artificial intelligence models and things like that, what other challenges do you think we could potentially face in the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's connect back to the trend that we discussed. So not only about AI is going to take jobs or AI is going to do such thing in here and there, but I think that the most challenges that's going on in the tech sector is, first of all, the miscommunication between employers and employees, or employers and workers, in a way that there are so many talents in the tech sector out there. They just don't know how to advertise themselves to the employers in a way that I'm ready for the future. Not only that I'm ready for today, but I'm ready for the future. Because that is exactly what they are afraid of like, I'm going to hire you today and tomorrow I have to fire you because I already find something that can replace you. So I think that is one thing that's very challenging for job seeker and talents in the tech sector. How am I going to articulate my personal brand clear enough? How am I going to constantly upskill to catch the speed of the sector in a way that I will never ever be displaced, something like that. So that's one. The second one is really, you can start seeing it, a lot of things going on in the social issues now influence tech more and more. For example, climate change. For example, like gender inequality, right? That's why you start seeing like more and more women, more and more initiative to actually bring women, young talents, people from vulnerable communities into the sector. The thing is, the sector is not prepared to create an inclusive environment for those people. So you can see some initiatives, but you might not see the impact yet. And some of the companies will also be triggered by those if they are not ready to implement some kind of like initiatives to support those social issues going on in the sector. So the misalignment between having a plan to tap into more inclusive talent pool and having a plan to actually retain them and develop them further in the sector would be another challenge that I see.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if anybody else have got questions. Feel free to drop it in the chat or ask before we let Tam go. Isn't there anybody else you can show?
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think Fade mistakenly dropped the ball. Or is she still here? No, she's not. Okay.
Yes, I'm
join.
here. I'm here.
You guys hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. I think I'll let Jadi close. I don't think anybody else have got any questions, but thank you very much, Tam, for coming in and speaking to us. We really appreciate the fact that you could actually come in and speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. And all the best for everybody that doing important work in tech sector.
Thank you, Tam, for joining the call. We really appreciate you coming on here, and thank you everyone for joining as well. Just to restate, we have tech talks like this every last 2 Wednesdays, and at Techlerator here, we transform organizations by bridging the gap between talent and technology. So if you're looking to get like a strong foothold in starting your tech journey, whether it's transitioning into tech, being an expert at what you already know, that's what we are here for at Techlerator. Our mission is to empower businesses with cut-edge solutions, from strategic consultancy and innovative product development to comprehensive training programs and specialized tech recruitment and services. With a success rate of over 90% and a growing market share of 15% in the tech solutions industry, with a deep understanding of the tech landscape and a commitment to excellence, we equip your team with the skill and insights they need to live in today's digital world. So we also do corporate trainings as well for companies. So if you want your company to learn a particular tech skill, you can send them over to us and we will train them. We also do individual training as well with over 6 courses. We do product management, software testing, project management, and so on. And we would like to see you guys next week, Wednesday. Keep an eye out for our next webinar, which will be next week Wednesday. We'll be sharing that in our newsletters, which you'd get in your email on Friday as well. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Tam, for coming on here and educating us. We appreciate you. Thank you everyone. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.